Good afternoon. This is meteorologist Drew Lerner of World Weather Incorporated, and this is a special Sunday evening video update here for the U.S. Precipitation over the holiday weekend. You're looking at the northern U.S. plains precipitation. Just want you to notice the area of concentrated moisture in the northern plains. That's where the big snow event took place. We did come up with some significant snow accumulations occurring across this region. And of course, we did see some significant rains occurring across parts of the Midwest as well as the southeastern U.S. plains and the Delta. But notice the amounts here in the Delta. They are mostly less than 1 inch. That's important to note since we've got drought that we're trying to break. Also, notice that we did see a little hole in the precipitation across parts of the heart of the Midwest, but the precipitation in general was good. And I don't want to make it sound like we got problems because this was a well-distributed precipitation event that should help to improve the moisture situation for many areas as we come into the start of the growing season. Now, out to the west, it was pretty minimal precipitation outside of Montana and parts of Wyoming. That's where that storm system over the weekend actually began on Thursday night going into Friday. It was, I should say, a fairly significant snow event across the northern plains. That area that we just highlighted for the precipitation totals getting upwards to 6 to 8 tenths of an inch also had some really impressive snow accumulations. The yellow color is basically 6 to 8 inches, and you start getting into the oranges, and you got more than a foot of snow. And some of the red areas, darker red in particular, you get up over 18 inches. Now, for the most part, though, I will tell you that the officially reported snow accumulations were in the range of 6 to about 16 inches. That was the general rule there across that area of the brighter colors. So a pretty impressive event, certainly stressful for livestock. The temperatures did not get too terribly cold behind it, which was probably pretty important. But as far as the precipitation coming up in the next 10 days, we do have additional moisture coming up for the Midwest. Now, this is going to be translated by some folks as being too much moisture. Now, we didn't have time to do the soil assessment here today. We'll try to do that tomorrow. But I just wanted to point out that some of this precipitation across the Midwest is going to be followed up by more moisture as we go forward through the next week to 10 days. Let me end this PowerPoint here. We're going to go take a look at the daily loop real quick and see just exactly how that precipitation is going to get laid out here a little bit. So you're looking at 24-hour precipitation charts. This is for the rest of the day today. As we go forward on Monday, you're going to see that there is not much precipitation, so we have an opportunity for a couple of days of drying taking place across the region. And this is on the 24 hours ended on Wednesday morning. So Monday and Tuesday, even today, are going to be relatively dry bias across the Midwest. So that's an opportunity for the ground to firm a little bit. Now, the temperatures aren't going to be super warm, and so it'll be a slow dry down process. Now, here on Wednesday, you can see precipitation starts to return to portions of the Midwest, the same areas that were impacted over the course of the holiday weekend. You will notice that there's a little bit of moisture being shown for western Kansas. Be very careful here. I am not looking at that precipitation becoming significant enough to change the overall dry status out that way. On Thursday, we'll start seeing a little enhancement in the precipitation from parts of eastern Kansas into the Midwest, and that will begin a period of a couple of days of kind of rainy weather. Now, again, I urge a little caution about the western high plains region, but they're not going to get as much moisture as areas from the southeast plains into the heart of the Midwest. And this is just the GFS model. It's not necessarily the right solution. It's just the most convenient for me to show you at this point in time. As we go into next week, you'll see that there's still some additional precipitation. So obviously there's going to be a little bit of a slowdown in some farming activity, a little sluggishness getting started here this spring. This is going to be already the middle of the month. So we're going to need some drier weather and some warmer temperatures. Well, once we get to mid-month, we do get a little bit better scenario playing out. You can see from about the 16th on out through the 21st, we get a period that is at least advertised today to be generally favorable. Let's take a look at the ensemble, just make sure that that's going to be the case. The ensemble is a little bit better average of multiple model runs. And you can see, again, Thursday going into the weekend is when we get most of this precipitation taking place across the middle of the United States. And there will be some rain in the high plains. It's just not going to be all that dramatically great. As we move into next week, we have some additional precipitation. Now, the ensemble doesn't dry things down after the 16th as well as the operational model did. That's important to keep in mind. So you can see there's some scattered showers that occur from the 16th through the 21st. So there is a reason to continue to be concerned about this. The marketplace might be a little bit nervous as we move forward in time. Let's take a look at those temperatures, though. These are very important because if it's cold during this wetter period, it's going to be even longer before farmers can get into the field. So the first 5 days of the forecast look fairly seasonable on average. As we go into the 6 to 10 day period, you can see that there's going to be a warmer scenario for a big part of the Midwest and parts of the plains. This is going to include the time period just ahead and during the next rainy period beginning this weekend into next week. So very, very important that we get the warmth, but unfortunately it is going to rain during some of this period of time. Now that warm weather will abate as we get out to days 11 through 15, and you can see the temperatures will cool down. They won't necessarily be cold, but they will definitely be cooler biased at times. As far as snowfall potential is concerned, let's go back and take a look at that operational model again. And whoops, that's not what I want to do. Let's try this and take a look to see what the potential is for a little bit of snowfall to occur. There is potential for that, but mostly it's up in Canada here in this first week of the outlook. As we get into the second week, there is some colder air that comes down to the northern plains, but that's about as far as it gets. The snow you see in the central plains around the middle of April, I think is going to be a completely different looking system by the time we get to that point. So I'm not buying into that portion of the forecast. And then again, we get that drier tendency. Last thing I wanted to show you was the day-by-day temperatures for this week. We already know that the temperatures are going to be a little bit more seasonable until we get to the weekend, and then we'll start warming up. These are the afternoon highs that are expected. You can see a lot of 50s and 60s across the Midwest here on as we go from today into Monday. Now, Monday, we have a little bit of a cool off taking place in the northern plains and northern Midwest. With temperatures only in the 40s and 50s across some of those areas, it's going to be really difficult to cause any serious dry down while we're not getting much precipitation. And then we start warming up as we get out towards the second half of this week. These are Wednesday's highs, 60s and 50s across the Midwest, 70s and 80s in the central and southern U.S. plains and the Delta. And then we start pushing some more cooler air in from the northwest as we get out towards next week. Now, it will still be fairly warm through the first half of next week, so there should be some opportunity for warming. But remember, it does start to rain again during this time period. And if you're concerned about nighttime temperatures, well, I did see that we have some frost warnings out for tonight in the southeastern part of the Midwest, but you can see that the temperatures are really coldest in the northern half of the Midwest. And that's where all the really hard freezes are likely to occur here for the early part of this week. And then we'll get away from that as we warm up the atmosphere a little bit as we finish out the week and move into the weekend. Now, next week, late in the week, we'll see another shot of cooler air, but nothing abnormal. This is meteorologist Drew Lerner.